Well, hello there, and welcome to a brand new virtual program called Tools of the Trade. My name is John Miller. I'm the Executive Director of the Shippensburg Area Historical Society. And with this program here, I thought that I'd go ahead and showcase what it's like to be somebody who works in the history field. My career began in 1999 with the Emmitsburg Area Historical Society. And that was where I was tasked with archives. And basically what we were doing was we were converting paper into digital. And we would do that by scanning thousands and thousands of pages of information, whether it was from books or articles, and creating OCR. And then from there, we would go ahead and upload it to a website. The theory with Emmitsburg Historical Society was to be able to do the research without having to physically visit a location. This theory here really took off, especially in the modern day, as more and more universities and archives and such went ahead and started digitalizing a lot of their collections. From there, at Emmitsburg, I also became one of the upcoming Civil War historians. And this is where I was researching Emmitsburg's role during the American Civil War, which led me to the battles of Antietam, the battles of Gettysburg, as well as Monocacy. Taking that information and making it available for people who were visiting these areas was pretty important. That's also how I began working with a lot of the tourism agencies, with Frederick County Tourism, Washington County Tourism. I was working with Franklin County Tourism, and to a certain extent, a little bit with Adams County Tourism, which is now called Destination Gettysburg. And what we would do is we would try to help create a seamless visitor experience. And working with these tourism agencies, I gave a lot of tours. And that's where putting programs and interpretation was the next step that I needed to learn. So from Emmitsburg, I went over to the Maryland Park Service, where I became a seasonal ranger for my first year. After that, I became a long-term contractual ranger. And my job duties there were public safety, putting programs together, ground maintenance, education coordinator, which was something that the South Mountain Battlefield really had not had at that time. So with that, I began working with Antietam National Battlefield's educational unit. And from there, I went ahead and developed our own educational programming to give to children as well as adults of all ages. And it was really cool because within the first year and a half of launching those programs in 2010, for the most part, I had dealt with more than 10,000 kids. And they were from all over the community, from the school systems to private schools to youth groups. So it was really, really an interesting time period in my career because of the fact that I was developing so much. From there, I also developed exhibits. Every year we wanted to refresh what the exhibits were. And we wanted to go ahead and have something that kept people coming back. So with the exhibits came more interpretive skills. And there we were developing our own panels and such. I also worked with the Civil War Trails, and that was based out of Richmond, Virginia, as well as the Civil War Trail system that is now fully defunct here in Pennsylvania. Another aspect of my career while I was with the Maryland Park Service was pretty much acting as a historian as well as conservation and preservation. During my years there, we were able to preserve hundreds of acres of battlefield land, whether it was through purchase or through easements. And that's where I worked with the Civil War Trust. Believe me, it's a good morning when you wake up and you go to work and you're given 25 properties and you're told to pick 10 that you felt was important that needed to be preserved with easements. So that was awesome when we did that. Well, from the state of Maryland, I moved up to the Gettysburg Foundation at the Gettysburg National Military Park. And there I learned a lot of administrative duties as well as management duties. On a good day, we would have literally thousands and thousands of people coming in. So I was able to utilize all my skills from interpretation to public safety while maintaining a safe working environment for upwards to about anywhere from 20 to 40 different employees during the week. Plus, I went ahead and assisted with some of the scheduling, which I also did at South Mountain, as well as budgeting, which I also did at South Mountain. From there, I went ahead and I was pretty much the main driving force, along with my wife, for the Monterey Pass battlefield. And there we managed to go ahead and work with Michigan's Department of Natural Resources to get an interpretive plaque, as well as a museum that would be built for people to come see. That way they can get more of the Gettysburg story. So with the museum came museum layouts. It also came with museum designs as well as interpretation, redevelopment of programs that was designed for that historical site. Then came land purchases. And through those land purchases, once we finally were able to have the funds to have the lands transferred, from there I was to develop trails that would not hurt the natural resource, but allowing visitors to experience the historical resource itself. So when you go to Monterey Pass Battlefield and Blue Ridge Summit, everything you see up there, from the trails to the interpretive panels on the battlefield to the interior of the museum, that is all my design. So with this series here, and I saw this on the Gettysburg National Military Park's teachers and educators portion of the Facebook, I got to thinking, there's a lot of students up here at the university, as well as high school students and some middle schoolers, that may want to get into the field of history but don't know exactly what it is that they want to do or how to do the things that they want to do. So I decided I was going to go ahead and come up with a series of videos entitled Tools of the Trade. Through these videos, I'm going to discuss all the different aspects of what it was like to work out in the history field, whether it be with public history, such as giving interpretive programs or educational programs, to museum curation, which deals with the artifacts, as well as museum layout. And you probably saw some of the videos of the two newest exhibits that we have for this year. And of course, with that, I pretty much learned how to work within a budget, so that'll help out too. Also, there's other aspects of the history field that people may not think are history related, such as social media. Social media is huge, and I received a lot of that training back in 2010 when the national parks and the state parks and these nonprofits, all of us got together through what was called the heart of the Civil War, and we began planning events for which would take place for the 150th, but it was all through social media. Because the thought of it then was, it's okay for people to visit these sites and experience the tours, to see the landscape, to hear their stories, but what about the people who couldn't attend? So through social media and my training, we were able to allow people in California, for an example, to experience what the visitors were experiencing without actually being there in front of us. So that was brand new, and that was something that a lot of the parks and historical sites have not done leading up until that point. Some of the other things that you might want to learn more about would be the preservation or the conservation aspects, whether it be from land to what's inside of your facility. So in the next couple of weeks, like I said, we're going to be developing a series of videos, and hopefully that'll inspire you as well as to help you decide what part of the history field that you would like to join in. Until then, I want you to ask yourself this one question, because it is always asked, to me, and that is, what inspires you about history? For me, I've been inspired by history ever since I was in elementary school when I picked up my first history book in English class and was reading it. From there, I just loved history, whether it was military history to material culture. And then from there, my interest grew into music. And of course, while I'm listening to a lot of genres of music, from country to blues to heavy metal to bluegrass, I always ask myself, I wonder how we got to this point here. So from there, I would research going back to try to find those answers. And when you think about it, history is all around you. It could be something within your town. It could be the town itself. It could be the material cultural aspect of it. You hear something on the radio or you see something on TV. Not too many people in the 1970s and early 80s, for an example, thought that Star Wars, that's historical in nature too. So I hope you join me for these next several segments, and until then, hey, everybody stay safe out there. We're looking forward to seeing you again. Goodbye.